You don't expect a national park to feel like it's staring back at you. Big Bend is beautiful the way a storm is beautiful. Wide, quiet, and powerful enough to ignore your plans. And in November of 2023, a 25-year-old hiker from Houston, Christy walked into that quiet. Then she didn't come back. For 8 days, the desert kept her. And when she was finally found, she was alive. But the story of how you stay alive out there when your water is gone, your phone is useless, and night drops like a door slamming. That story is where everything changes. Before we begin, some moments in this script are dramatic reconstructions based on publicly reported facts. The exact minute-by-minute experience is known only to Christy. But the truth of what happened, the disappearance, the search, and the rescue, remains the same. Let's go back to the start. Christy arrives at Big Bend National Park the way most people do. Excited, ready for a reset. Houston is noise, Big Bend is silence. The kind of silence that makes you hear your own thoughts. She checks in, plans a hike, and heads toward one of the park's most iconic areas. The Chizos Mountains, where trails curve through rugged terrain and open into views so wide they look unreal. It's the kind of place that convinces you you're safe, because other people have been there before you. It's the kind of place where you think, I'm just going for a hike. But the desert doesn't care what you call it. It only cares what you do next. Christy steps onto the trail, moving forward with the confidence of someone who believes the day will end normally. No one sees a disaster coming. That's how most disasters begin. Time passes, a sunset comes, then another, and the first sign that something is wrong isn't a scream or a dramatic scene. It's a quiet absence. Christy doesn't show up for her camping reservation. To most of us, that sounds small, but in Big Bend, missing a reservation can be the difference between running late and never coming back. Rangers start asking questions. Where did she say she was going? What trail? When did anyone last see her? And soon, the park shifts into a different mode. The kind that only happens when nature stops being scenery and starts being a threat. Search and rescue gets involved, because once you're lost out there, you don't just wait it out. The desert doesn't give you that option. The search expands fast. Rangers and volunteers work the terrain, scanning the rocky slopes, checking trail junctions, looking for footprints that fade into stone, looking for anything that says she went this way. They focus around areas tied to the reports, places like the Lost Mine Trail region in the Chizos Mountains, a name that feels almost too perfect now. And here's the terrifying part. In a landscape that huge, one person can disappear in a way that feels impossible. You can be less than a mile from a trail and still be invisible. The sun comes up and bakes the ground. The wind scrapes across the rock. Night falls and temperatures drop hard. And somewhere in that massive silence, Christy is still out there. At some point, panic would have tried to take over. But panic burns energy. Panic wastes water. And water, out there, is everything. This is the chapter we can't fully know. But we can understand what 8 days in that environment means. It means time stops behaving normally. Day becomes survival math. How far can I walk before heat drains me? Where can I find shade? Should I move or stay put? Night becomes a different kind of fight, cold enough to shake your sleep apart. Darkness so complete, your own hands feel like strangers. Every sound louder because the world is otherwise silent. And the worst enemy isn't only thirst, it's confusion. Because once you lose the trail, if you lose it, everything starts to look the same. Rocks, brush, drops, turns. You can walk in the wrong direction for an hour and undo a full day. And if your phone has no signal, the screen becomes a useless comfort object. You can stare at it all day. The desert won't care. Imagine the moment she realized she was truly lost. Not, I'm off route. Not, I'll find it. But the heavier thought, I don't know where I am. That thought lands like a physical weight. It changes your breathing. It changes your choices. Because now every decision is life or death, even if it doesn't look like it. A shortcut becomes a cliff. A dry wash becomes a trap. A little farther becomes exhaustion you can't recover from. And yet, somehow, she keeps going, or she stops going when stopping is safer. She does what so many people can't do in that moment. She survives the mental war. Because survival isn't heroic. It's stubborn. It's refusing to give the desert what it wants. On November 17th, after about 8 days, searchers finally locate Christy. Alive. Not a miracle in the fairy tale sense. A miracle in the brutal, hard-earned sense. Reports described her as awake and talking when rescuers reached her. And the location? It wasn't some dramatic, faraway canyon. She was reported to be about a quarter-mile below the end/summit area of the Lost Mine Trail. Close enough to haunt you with the thought of how near help can be, and still feel unreachable. Rescue teams move carefully, because even when you find someone, the danger isn't over. The body, after days without normal food and water, can crash. Injuries might not be obvious until you try to stand, and the emotional shock can hit like a wave. But Christy is extracted and taken for medical care. She makes it out. The park exhales. The searchers who spent days scanning rock and shadow finally get the ending they almost never get. Alive! Most stories like this end at the rescue, but this one had a strange postscript. Afterward, Christy shared updates online, brief glimpses that she was recovering and even moments of humor about what happened. To some people, that feels shocking. How could you joke about it? But that reaction misses something important. Sometimes humor is how you take power back, because getting lost like that doesn't just threaten your body. It changes your relationship with the world. It turns a simple hike into a memory your brain will replay at 2 a.m. The laughter doesn't erase it. It just helps you carry it. If you take one thing from this story, let it be this. Nature doesn't need to be angry to be deadly. Big Bend didn't hunt her. It simply existed, and that's what makes it terrifying. Because the same thing can happen to anyone who underestimates distance, heat, terrain, and how fast a small mistake becomes a missing person. Christy Perry survived 8 days, and we don't know every detail of what she endured. But we know this. She didn't give up, and the people searching didn't give up either. In a world full of stories that end in loss, this one didn't. This one ended with someone walking back into life after the desert tried to keep her. And that is the kind of ending worth telling. If this story hit you, share it, not for the drama, but for the reminder. The wilderness is beautiful, but beauty isn't safety, and if you ever find yourself out there, take preparation seriously. Because sometimes the difference between a hike and a headline is one wrong turn, and 8 days the world will never forget. If you want the next story, subscribe now so you don't miss the next survival story.